by then, they were raising, I think, revenue of about 430 billion. But Kibaki was borrowing locally in Africa from African Development Bank. But you look at how he was borrowing, the money was circulating in the economy. Look at the projects that he carried out, the Thika Superhighway. The contract was given to the local. The government was determining who is given the supplies, who is contracting the roads. So the money was circulating in the economy. And you remember the revenue increased almost 600%. Up to about 1 trillion. That is the first time Kibaki managed to raise revenue up to 1 trillion mark. And also, he borrowed to around 1.2 trillion. But after, Uhuru Kenyatta and took over as president, the borrowing increased from 1.2 trillion to about 8.6 trillion. That means that there was a high appetite of borrowing by that government.
Actually 11.
11. Now, that is as per, the World Bank records of around August. But you see, look at the project that the Big Four agenda, even after the second term of Uhuru and Ruto, where now the handshake came in. First of all, we need to be very clear and very honest. There was no opposition to even question the government. Members of parliament, both the opposition and the government, decided to increase the debt ceiling. Every time it is brought to parliament, they increase it up to almost 11 trillion. Look at the projects, the expressway. They were doing what we call project financing module. Project financing module and also PPP. Now, the project financing module, you look for a financier, you look for a donor, they bring the supplies, the money remains in their country. What they do is they do the projects. So you don't expect the money to circulate in the economy. So there was no money in the economy. So inheriting such a government without anything, actually Ruto has really tried. And he's only been in office for only 6 months. You cannot blame him. If you look at the developed countries, you can only evaluate a government after 18 months. So Azimio side should give us time to, panel beat and come up with good strategies that will help us improve on this economy. You've seen look at our plan. We have decided to do away with subsidies. We've come up with, subsidizing production instead of consumption. That is why, subsidy, we were losing almost 4 billion every month. On fuel consumption, we were losing almost 36 billion every month. So it was not making economic sense. So whatever we have come up with, it is only important that we are given time to develop this country. I don't know why people are making noise here and there. And if you look at the issues that they are raising are not even genuine. They're not genuine. I think they're just looking for something.
I have a quick rejoinder. Dennis. Let me have a quick rejoinder. First of all, I just want us to be honest Kenyans. If we have to take this country forward, we need to stop hiding behind excuses. When I listen to my brothers here, they are still taking us back to the failed Jubilee administration. Now, the question that I want to ask, and I've asked this many times, William Ruto, Gachagua, and many of the cabinet secretaries, including some of the PSs today, are not new in government. They are the ones who came up with the plan on how to fix this country. And they should also stop copy-pasting what other countries are doing in the world. For example, they are the ones who came up with the idea of in 100 days, by January, in 6 months, we'll do this, we'll do that, because they had no plan at all. This day, you don't hear about Boda Boda, Mamboga, wheelbarrow, or anything. So I think, and thanks to Omula, he's brought a context of Kibaki administration. Kibaki probably inherited the worst economies in the history of Kenya. Maybe now, the Jubilee administration also is second to that. Kibaki never started blaming Moi, Kanu, for 24 years. He went and implemented a plan that he had. And we could see an economy that was growing. But the problem with these KK administration fellows is that they just want to hide behind, it was Uhuru. Come on. If you really are courageous and you have got integrity and you saw that the government was actually falling, why are you part and parcel of it? They told us when they were sworn in that we inherited inherited empty coffers. But look at the spending spree of this government. So I think, Omulo, let's be very honest. If you have to really fix this country, at least let's try to be a little bit truthful, even to be as little religious as we pretend to be in this country, and say, okay, this is the state of affairs. This is how we are going to do it. You cannot tell me that we inherited empty coffers and then you go on a spending spree, allocating 800 million for purchase of cars, then employing chief administrative secretaries that aren't even in the office, that will cost Kenyans about 4 billion annually, and many, many others. Increasing the cabinet and enlarging government. In other parts of the world, and you are right to say that, yes, government must be evaluated within a certain time frame.
Yeah.
But in other parts of the world, the moment they see that the state of the economy, state of affairs, they apply austerity measures. We are not applying austerity measures. I see these government officials quick to report who they met, which trip they made, but they're not giving us an assessment. Yes, and let's stop this thing of, oh, we've only been in government 6 months. You are not new in government. You came up with a plan. You told us you're implementing this plan. You're not doing it. Instead, it's just lamentation and crying and taking us back to politics. I wish some of your leaders could just stop taking us back to politics, and maybe now that you guys can clearly see your KK, free advice to Deputy President Gachagua. Stop responding to Akina Raila. Implement the plan.
I think it's only fair to use history to correct the future, because the net effect of that borrowing is really affecting the current regime. Because you look at that 11 trillion debt. When you borrow, you are given a grace period that you are supposed to pay. So when the government uses a huge amount of money paying back the loans that were borrowed by the former regime, it affects the current economy. And I can say without blinking my eye, the austerity measures that this government has taken. One, we've been supplying food to affected areas, drought-affected areas. This time, and even some of them, even in Nyanza, I've seen people supplying, giving free food. That is one austerity measure that this government has taken. Secondly, we subsidize fertilizer from 6,000 to around 3,000. 3,000 shillings.
How many people do
and you see, it is the first time that Kenya Kwanza registered over 5 million farmers that are now receiving fertilizers through e-voucher. We came up with a system that eliminated cartels. And now even farmers are very, very happy now that they have fertilizer. They are doing farming. And we expect in the very few months, 6 to 7 months.
Absolutely.
Dennis, I have another very burning issue. And you see, for me, I came to this show because I want us to try and help this country move forward. Omulo, stop telling us about cartels. You now have the instruments of power, okay? Instead of saying there are cartels, money was lost, 35 billion left treasury.
At least 15 billion within 2 seconds.
Exactly. This money was never carried in sacks. It must have left treasury into a certain destination. What you could do for Kenyans is to say where this money ended. And that way will take you serious. But these excuses of blanket condemnation that all cartels, when these cartels are ghosts.
All right, Mr. Ekuru, let's go systematically and just answer each and every topic, address each and every topic as they come. You've talked about farmers being given subsidies, and we heard it from Masaki saying that the current administration, the Kenya Kwanza government, has done away with subsidies completely. So could that be possibly one of the reasons as to why there's a lot of mix-up when it comes to the cost of living? Because at one point we're saying we've done away with subsidies. Then on the other hand, we're having subsidies for farmers. If you could answer that. And then the second question, because one thing that Mr. Ekuru has talked about is the current government, the current president, William Ruto. He's saying that he inherited, empty coffers. He
was part of it.
But he was part of the previous
regime. 10 years.
He was the deputy president.
Yes.
So how then do you...
My friend, the buck stops with the president. As much as Ruto was the deputy president, a deputy president is just a helper. In fact, he's assisting president. He's supposed to be sent to do 1, 2, 3 things. And remember what happened after the Azimio party leader joined the handshake brother. They threw him through the window. Actually, Ruto was not the deputy president. the deputy president was Raila Odinga. So you don't blame William Ruto. He was just domiciled in Karen. That's why he was doing his business. Actually, he was just praying. So sometimes let us not, talk about William Ruto in that aspect. But over and above,
a quick lesson
it's only important.
A quick lesson.
It's only important. It's only important to understand that the best thing that this government has done is to subsidize fertilizer, is to allow farmers to do farming, and to do away with subsidies. These subsidies, I've told you we were losing 4 billion every month. We realized that there are certain people, certain cocoon. When you talk about cartel, it does not mean that we don't know them, but we allow the law to take its course. He knows very well there's a time we said we are going to form a commission or a query on state capture. But we cannot do it for now because it's not a priority. But we have allowed the parliament to initiate that process, because the process can be initiated by parliament, but only after knowing what the auditors report and what transpired, because we have to know where this money went, the 15 billion, the money that the former government sold Telecom Kenya, about
6 billion.
6 billion. We lost a lot of money. So we just hold on our horses. Very soon you'll see these people. We'll mention them one by one, and we know them. So we cannot talk without evidence. I know right now we're on the right track, because farmers are now doing their best. In the next 6 months, let us allow this government to progressively move on. If you want to help your family, if you're a good father, first of all, you save. Secondly, you don't put meat on the table every day without a clear plan. If you have to organize your family, sometimes they must suffer for you to organize them for future. So that's why we allowed Kenyans to suffer for some few days. In the next 6 months, now you will see people enjoying. I don't see
changes. All right, go ahead, Masaki.
I think the scenario, I want to put it in a layman's language, we are in now, we are living within our means. During the handshake government, we were living outside the means that we can be able to afford as a country. Because you can't be you're earning 50 shillings and you're living a life of 1,000 shillings. It's not possible. That's where we are today. It is painful, but that's what we're building from. And in the handshake government, which I expected my friend here to be speaking, he was quiet.
For me?
Yes.
Oh no, I was opposed to it. I mean, come on, history will judge me right. I was opposed to BBI. I went to court.
Very good.
We won that case. We came up with Punguza Mizigo. It is your same people who actually opposed it when we are actually going to reduce the cost of governance generally. I mean, my bill is out there. The 2019 bill, Punguza Mizigo. It was not perfect. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but we had a solution on how to reduce the cost of governance in this country. And Mulo, let me give you a quick lesson in law. There's what we call contributory negligence. And contributory negligence will not spare William Ruto, will not spare most of the cabinet secretaries today. They were in that government. So when they blame Jubilee administration, when they say they inherited, they were actually part and parcel of it. They didn't come from outside. William Ruto deputized the problems we saw through in this country. And if he was truly a leader who cares about Kenya, he could have even resigned and say, I don't want to be part and parcel of this kind of conniving administration. But he was part and parcel of it, benefited from it, and many of the current, some of his colleagues today. And so therefore, listen, I don't want to continue with the blame game. I wanted to try and see how we can fix this country. And fixing this country means we have to acknowledge, okay, this is the state of affairs, this is where we went wrong. I would have expected today, by the way, maybe apart from Singapore and maybe Kenya, Norway and a few other countries, every country in the world has a debt, including some of the so-called powerful nations like America's, whatever. But it depends on what a government of the day does to assuage that kind of suffering. So I would have expected, for example, a renegotiation on debt repayment. I'm not saying we cannot. I mean, if you're not growing the economy, like now, I come from the northern part of Kenya. We are actually multi-millionaires. If you, for example, cost, the price of our cows, cattle, and whatever, we're actually multi-millionaires. But I would love to see government develop meat industry and even do value addition in northern part of Kenya. Because like the meat we eat here in Nairobi 80% comes from ASAL regions. 80%. That's the whole industry. And every time we have got a food security issue in this country, we talk fertilizers. Fertilizers cannot equate to food security. In fact, we need to change our policy framework that when we're talking about national security of a country, one of the ingredients of national security of a country is actually food security. But we are not doing that. It's too much empty talk, too much rhetoric, too much. That's why for me, I've said, I wish these people could stop engaging the opposition. And yes, to some extent, I agree with you that this maandamano is interfering, is ruining businesses. There is already a leadership in parliament. I have not seen a single member of parliament table a statement for debate or a motion. They have all been compromised, totally compromised, because KK is trying to buy loyalty, even in parliament, and therefore compromising the whole idea of calling government into account and representation. And that's where the problem is. Like, I mean, I've called out Azimio. They cannot pretend today they are not part and parcel of the problems we are facing today. In 2019, they voted for that VAT on petroleum, which really drives the economy of a country. So all this, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe why don't we start from a clean slate and say, okay, this is the situation we are in. How do we address it? Government should stop less politicking. This so-called many prayers, whatever, I use this idea.
Absolutely. Masaki, there's a point I want to pick you up on, and this is, the point of subsidies, when you said that the government has done away with the subsidy on maize. But there's something also that you mentioned, that the government is having problems with a few millers. So then you ask yourself, if the cost of production is high for the millers, then the government has asked the millers to reduce the cost of unga. Is that what is causing the discrepancies of the prices of unga on our shelves?
I think one of the issues that we have raised, I think it also raised in the committee at Parliament, some of them are also complaining. Part of the money that was supposed to be paid to the millers in the handshake government just before the election, almost 4 billion, part and parcel of the 15 billion that was lost. Actually, this money was not paid to millers. And that's why there's a lot of discrepancies between the millers and the government. But as we speak now, there's a committee that is in place, and also there's a task force that is in place that's also handling this issue to see how it's going to be addressed. Because the money that actually was paid from Treasury, 4 billion was supposed to be paid to millers. It was not paid. And these are some of the issues that we're trying to raise, that we are in the same problem, and these people are trying to drive, they're trying to push the government, and yet they're the same people who are actually part and parcel of the problems of the previous regime. And we are telling them that they need to be honest. As we have said, we have no problem. We said we have given the talks in Parliament. We want it to be done within the rule of law. But we have realized they have another motive. It is not about really the issues that we're talking about, the issue of cost of living. It is something to do away. They're trying to use this to try and get into the government through backdoor. And we say that we are not interested with that. We are not interested with that discussion. Handshake government, we are only interested in how we're going to address this issue. And that's why we gave the goodwill in giving our members and allowing, selecting members into that by partisan talks that was raised. But we have realized it is not genuine in the discussion that they are raising. They want to include people from outside this discussion. And we said, no, let it be through Parliament, because that's what the law has envisaged. So let's be honest. If you look in what we have we said, actually, we said once we form government, we are going to establish Hustler Fund. We have done that, the first phase. We are going to the second phase, which is going to include the SACCOs. And the president has already raised that issue, and he said yesterday that from next month, the Hustler Fund will be raised, so that we want many young people to also, those who are in enterprise, to be able to apply for this, so that they can be able to do business. We cannot be able to have a good working environment and business environment with this kind of mandamanos. I think it is driving this country back. It is not genuine with what these people are doing. And we really need to call them out. We really need to call them out. We need our friend also to call them out. Tell them that this is not the way to go. Yeah. As a country, we have parliament to address this issue.
Absolutely. We will get to that.
We're losing a lot of money every day with the mandamanos. They have said on Tuesdays and Thursday. Yeah. How much money are we going to lose as a country?
Absolutely, Masaki. Yeah. We'll get back to that conversation of the Azimio protests. But on that note, we are due a short break. But just remember, this is a special coverage of Newsfeed where we're looking at the state of the nation and looking at possible solutions to some of the issues that the country is grappling with. This afternoon, I'm joined by the Third Way Alliance Party leader, Ekuro Okot. I'm also joined by the ANC Party Director of Political Affairs, Omolo Jr., and UDA Party Director of Youth Affairs, that is Masaki Samuel. Now, on that note, we'll do a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be right back with more content.
Masaki, tell your guests to know this is there.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki history.
Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture along with the risks entitled to it to make profits.
I'm a professional financier with a professional paper in banking. However, for fashion, it's something I've always loved ever since I was small.
Started as a baby business. It was all about, you have your machines, the haircuts, wear the heads, bring the scalps.
we wanted something that would remind us about prayer every now and then. So the moment you mention Talit, we always think about prayer, because Talit cakes is
this meat production. The entire Asal region, northern Kenya, can actually be the meat production. I've been to Migori, I see gold, opportunity for gold, Kakamega, the rest, you know. So I think the problem is that the government has never been able to come up with an industrialization policy that exploits an economic opportunity in each and every part of the Republic of Kenya. If today we were controlling the mining of thiamine in Kwale, but instead our government has allowed raw materials to be shipped out of our country to another country, when will Kwale be the capital of thiamine mining in the world or in the region? We discovered oil in Turkana. We don't even hear about it anymore. Is it there? And if it is there, why are we not industrializing it, even have a local refinery that will actually begin to subsidize some of the cost of, of production, fueling, and the rest? So we are not doing all that. For the longest time, it used to be cash crop farming, coffee, tea, in central Kenya. Now, those farmers are even now, doing something else. It's no longer productive. So I think that we have got a fixated mindset in the political leadership in this country that they think when you talk about food security, you're only talking about maize production. That's why fertilizer becomes, a common denominator in discussing food security. As I said earlier, that any national security of any country in the world, one of the ingredients should be food security. Because if people don't have food, they will go to riot. There will be unrest. So it should be the responsibility of government to make sure that you diversify, productivity, economic opportunities in each and we are lucky as a country. I mean, I have traveled to a number of countries in the world and in the region. Let me tell you, very few countries compare with Kenya. Very few. It's not like we don't have water sources. For example, I've always asked myself, why should River Tana, now it's become Sabaki, drain into the Indian Ocean? Indian Ocean doesn't need those waters. And yet people from northern Kenya, Tana River, Kilifi, people are dying of hunger. Those are waters that will divert to make sure that we do drip irrigation, food productivity, and it will solve a lot of the problem. We will not be having this debate about the price of unga on our shelves if people actually have food. And that for me is one way of even maintaining a level of sober conversation when it comes to our politics. Because today, opportunists like, say, Azimio leaders will just want to exploit that state of desperation. Because if you really care about Kenyans, why then do you mobilize for economic sabotage the way Azimio actually is doing? And I'm not saying they shouldn't really exercise their political rights under Article 37 of the Constitution, but the Constitution is also very clear. Yes, go on riot, demonstrate, but peaceably. But we've seen the character of this Mandaman has been violence, have been economic sabotage, which is why I also have a problem with the government of the day. Why not go after this leadership? These are the leaders who are mobilizing, because they're actually the ones who plan. They sit down and say, we are going to go to CBD of Nairobi. Why are they not holding this demonstration in Lodwar, or in Mandera, or in Wajir, or in Garissa, or in Siaya, or Kisumu? Why Nairobi? Because they know Nairobi is the economic hub of Kenya, and of course, they will affect even their own supporters. People will probably be relying on a menial job to put unga on the table. If they don't go out there, how will they even afford the 200 or the 158 Kenya shillings for unga? Their kids will go hungry. These are saboteurs, economic saboteurs. And I think government should be courageous enough to say, you know what, we respect your constitutional right, but where you are affecting the majority of Kenyans, the law you must face the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your feedback regarding prioritizing on agriculture to alleviate Kenyans from the high cost of living?
I think the government has really tried, and I really want to comment on the president. We have moved away. We said we have moved away from the consumption subsidy to the production subsidy. That we are focusing on how we are going to ensure that farmers have enough fertilizers. They are getting support from the Ministry of Agriculture to do farming, so that we can be able to have enough food for ourselves. Because currently we don't have food. Okay, that's why the high cost of living is there, because we don't have food. So if we are going to empower our farmers, they're able to grow, and we encourage all of us to support them, then we're going to have enough food. Apart from that, the government is already establishing more dams, the infrastructure on the dams. We have Tiba Dam, we have Twake Dam, which have already been commissioned. This is going to help us harvest a lot of water. The same water is going to be used in the crop production. So this is some of the things that the government is actually ensuring that the farmers are supported so that we can have enough food for ourselves. Number two, we have talked about, we are moving away also from maize. Today, we are also supporting cotton farmers, those who are doing cotton farming. If they're able to do a lot of export for cotton, it is going to also to help us reduce the high cost of living that we are currently experiencing. So I think the best position, and that's why we are pushing these people, or this Azimio brigade, that what they are doing is affecting this country. It is affecting the growth of this country. When you're trying to resuscitate our economy, they are trying to drag us behind. The same way my friend has said that these are economic saboteurs. We cannot be able to grow as a country when we have people on the street. If we have 2 days, Tuesday and Thursday, people are not going to do business. How are we going to grow this country? And yet, they are the same people who are actually the part and parcel of the problems that we had experienced before. Initially, we said we had food security. If we had focused on the food security as a country today, we would not be experiencing the high cost of living as we have today. So it is important that they respect the will of the people. If they have the issue, the IBC, they have the court. They can go to Supreme Court and have it tabled there and address it from there. If they have the issue with the executive, they have parliament. So they're not genuine. And that's why we said, if really it's about the talk, let's have your panel, your committee, let's have our committee, let them meet, sit down and discuss these issues. If the issues are about policies, they can be rectified through parliament. Yeah. So I think we really have to address these issues the way they are. And we are going to call them out. If there are people who are not really going to change, I think the government will allow us, the young people, to treat these people as terrorists, because these are economic terrorists. Actually, we will address them as such. We will go to court and we'll have them barred even from going out of their houses.
Yeah.
If need be, we will do that.
All right, very, very pertinent issues being raised right there by Masaki. Is there anything you wanted to add on to that conversation of agriculture and alleviating the high cost of living?
I think the high cost of living in this country will be a thing of the past if we implement Kenya Kwanza plan as the way it is. Agriculture is the backbone of Kenyan economy, but we've realized that it was marred by, what my friend is calling economic saboteurs. These people were importing maize and rice from Mexico, from Brazil. We know they were doing business. And that's why even recently you saw the Minister for Agriculture cautioning the millers from, supplying maize to our neighbors. There are people who are after profits. But if we inject energy in the factors of production, I believe in the next few years, we'll be seeing a different, paradigm shift. So I think this is a plan that we need to, give credit where it is due. And I believe my good friend, Dr. Ekuro Kot, he came up with a very good plan. And I have to congratulate him on that. The Punguza Mizigo initiative, which raised some very, very pertinent issues. But he is a witness. He can tell you that the people who opposed his idea are the same people running around today in the street. They came up with the BBI, which in essence, the good things in it, but also bad things in it. Because you see, they were also creating positions which are sinecures.
But your side didn't support either.
But you see, sometimes they need to give us a break. Because when you tell them that we go to parliament, apply the law, let us negotiate there. Under Article 108, we allow the public, under public participation, to bring memorandum, also give suggestions in parliament. We'll also have, come up with new ideas on how to run the country. But as it were, let them give us a break for now. We need to implement our plan, and they need now to internalize. Read the Kenya Kwanza plan, internalize, interrogate, so that the opposition can also be informed. They should not be making noise about what they don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, Dennis,
Yeah.
there is one excuse that even Kenya Kwanza is using, and I really want to persuade them to move away from that. You see, this idea that let's have these bipartisan talks in parliament is completely unnecessary. We don't need it. There is already a leadership structure and through our constitution on how we can have talks. And one of the reasons I think that all these people are lying to Kenyans. Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio, they're just lying to Kenyans. They're conning Kenyans. Because I don't understand why the President of the Republic of Kenya will say, direct parliament, go and have a conversation with the counterpart. There is already a structure. There's a leader of majority, leader of minority, there are the whips and all those. Those people, according to the standing orders in parliament, can actually table any motion through committees. So this thing of what bipartisan talk is complete rubbish. It's actually lying. They are lying to Kenyans. They should stop this talk. In fact, Jubilee, KK administration should even stop entertaining this conversation anymore with the Azimio guys. They should tell us the extent to which they're implementing their plan. That's what we want to see. Because they are the ones who made the promises, not Azimio, and they won.
Yeah.
So one of the promises was not bipartisan talk in parliament. It was in 100 days we'll do this, in 6 months we'll do this. And you know, maybe just to refresh Masaki and Omulo's memory, you know, when they blame Azimio, you know me, I just laugh because I remember, like for example, from 2013. Ruto was part of the lying culture, political lying culture in this country. He says in 6 months, we will see a stadium here, you will give you a laptop, Jubilee laptop for every child, blah, blah, blah. Now, because Uhuru is not in the picture, now they are crucifying Uhuru Kenyatta. Yet they are all part and parcel of the plan. They are calling themselves brothers. Actually, my brother, they are even wearing identical shirts, ties, and all that. Of course, it's game. These people play games because for them it's about entitlement. And I think one of the things that saddens me sometimes when I see, because I can authoritatively say I'm older than Omulo and Masaki. So I've been around, you know, for some time. So I can tell some of the lies. I wish younger leaders like Masaki and Omulo could gang up together and say, okay, how do we secure the future of this country? Not necessarily for ourselves, at least for our countries. I keep saying, at the age I am right now, I have nothing to lose. I will tell you the truth, you know, because you never know. Life is too short.
Exactly.
So,
To be honest, I think it is important for us to be given time. Yeah, you cannot just. We are 6 months away from the formation of this government. You can't start talking about
Masaki.
You can't start judging us.
I'm not cutting you short. I'm not cutting you short. But Masaki, you are the ones who came up with a plan. And in your plan, you said, you are the one who gave us timelines. And also we believed you. By the way, I voted for you guys. And we believed you because I knew these are not newcomers in government. They have been around from 1992. I mean, Ruto, Uhuru, you remember YK 92 from 1992, all through. So these are not newcomers in government. So, but now, when you sit down and plan on how to bring change in society, in a country, and you even put timelines, it means you know. Then if you're not implementing that, Masaki, then say, you know what, I think we underestimated what we are capable of doing. Okay, we are now rethinking. And also stop copy-pasting, because in America, for example, where everybody borrows these 100 days, those guys know exactly what they can fix in 100 days. On our side, we're just using it to lure people to vote for you. And once you are voted in, munaanza kusema, even our buttocks are ready to be flogged like a shago.
I think it's also important so that we also remind Dr. Ekuro Kot that there are things we have achieved within 100 days.
Which one?
And, and I can even count. One, we promised that we are going to launch Hustlers Fund. We did within 100 days.
And it's not working.
Infrastructure, everything. In fact, I can tell you how many people have borrowed that money, how much they have returned. Secondly, we promised that we are appointing the judges. We did within 100 days. We said that we are going to, provide funding, infrastructure, so that the police service become independent. We did that. The same to judiciary. The only thing that they are blaming us is the issue of the cost of living, which they cannot blame Ruto entirely. It is a global thing. It is a Kenyan thing, which we have a plan, and there's something that is working. And in fact, fruits will be seen in the near future. Secondly, it is also fair that we must understand and tell Kenyans the truth that, one, we are still operating from the former regime's budget. We have not yet tabled our budget, which we are doing in the next 1 month or 2 months. We only did a supplementary budget, which he knows is only 20% of the operation budget, which cannot do anything, any projects or anything. So we have a clear plan. That's why we are saying, give us time. We have implemented what we promised within 100 days.
Omulo, there is, listen, see, again, this is another lie I don't like about these KK people. And I keep on telling them, we will give you time, and we gave you time. But please stop taking us for fools. Now, he's trying to say that we don't have our own budget. Where did you get the budget to employ 53 CASs?
They are not in office. Actually, somebody went.
But you appointed them. You hurriedly appointed them, and by 7:30 a.m. you are swearing them in. Only that the court stopped you.
Yeah, of
the
course.
Court stopped you.
Of which you respect the court.
Yes.
You have to agree.
Okay. So where
even before they went for shortlisting and went for vetting, there was a court order on that. We are really following the court.
Where was the budget to employ? Yes. Where was the budget? Respond to me on the budget.
We have no budget as ourselves. So we are going to have our own budget. So what you have done,
your means.
You see, first and foremost.
No, you're really lying.
When you
you're the one who's lying on show.
When you talk, let us have a clear. When you take over government, I know he has worked in various institutions and he's a lawyer, he understands. First of all, you look at how you develop a structure, a framework that will help you lead as a leader by doing appointments, which is allowed. The president has that, the authority to do that. Secondly, you do what we call auditing. What Ruto did or whatever he's doing is to audit the accounts. Must know these books, what happened here. We realized that 15 billion was lost somewhere, another 7 billion. We have to interrogate. Secondly, we have to stabilize the economy, which of course right now we can say and proudly say that the fiscal deficit is about 5.7. Look at right now, there's a requirement of the International Monetary Fund that now we can be proudly say we can borrow money anywhere. So having developed such kind of infrastructure, first of all, you settle. You're allowed to settle. But what the Azimio people are doing, they are making noise even before we settle. The issue of CASs was not created by Ruto. It was there. It was a presidential decree in the previous government. He said that they were putting on same ties, same thing. Those were comedies. And I said, those are comedies and conmanship. And you see the backstop with the president. Ruto had nothing to do with whether they promised 1,000 dams. Yeah. Right now, you can hold Ruto to account because he is the president. He is the one who is giving authorities, the commander or chief of the defense forces, is the president. And we have other arms of government that are supposed to oversight. They're supposed to legislate, come up with policies that will also help Kenya Kwanza implement, the plan. So let me pick you up on the policy. Let them give us time.
Yeah.
Let them study the plan, what we call the bottom-up agenda.
Let me pick you up.
Analyze.
Dennis,
let them help us come up with different ideas that we don't have to help us implement
an important policy.
Before you ask this.
All right, go ahead.
Let me remind my brother from another mother, Omulu. I'll not call him my political brother, because that political brother would have been abused. But let me call him my brother from another mother. You see, Dennis, Omulu, rather, we want to help you guys. When we criticize you as a government, we want it to be better, to be able to serve Kenyans. It was the same KK administration, and William Ruto in particular, who kept on saying, we will have a lean government. A government of Mama Mboga, a government of Boda Boda. Yeah? We don't hear those narratives anymore. So now we know it was a lie to lure the Mama Mbogas, the Boda Boda, the Aslas to vote for them. So I think if today, let me tell you, I'm not an economist, but there are certain basic things that I can point out. When the price of our shilling is falling miserably, you can't tell me you are stabilizing the economy. Today, the dollar is selling at 145 Kenya shillings. The pound or the euro is about 170 something thereabout. That cannot be a stable economy. On basic terms, just the power to purchase. You know. Secondly, Omolom, you know, if you really were to, if you have the instruments of power, and I want them to be even symbolic, even just to be symbolic, to have a government of Boda Boda and Mamamboga. I know many Boda Boda guys. Sometimes I use Uber, and I have a conversation with these guys. A guy will tell you, but I may even have a master's. I have a degree. This is a guy, I mean, riding a motorbike, you know, Uber, you know, Taxify, and all those. And there are even people who are selling mboga. Like, you know, for example, one of the ladies, I'm sure you probably know her. She's always on social media, selling chips in footbridges. You know, she's a graduate. I know her. If really Jubilee, I mean KK administration, you know, you see now, it's even difficult to remove them from being Jubilee because I mean I keep on because they're part of Jubilee.
Go ahead.
So if you really wanted even to have an inclusive government, even symbolically, it is not rocket science to find a border guy with a degree and appoint him as a PS or a chief administrative secretary or even a cabinet secretary. Right. But we saw, for example, during the vetting, this is a government of millionaires, if not billionaires. So that was already one big lie. And, you know, and that's why for me, I'm saddened sometimes when I see my younger brothers here defend obviously what is clearly a cartel government.
Mr. Ikuru, if there's one important thing that I noted, especially during the Labor Day speeches made by the president, and it is something that Mr. Omolo has talked about. He's asked for time. He's asked for the Kenya Kwanza government to be given time. And we saw the president saying that he's come up with a policy of having the wage policy that is going to be responsive to the cost of living. This is one of the many implementations that the current government might be having, because when you think about having a wage policy that is responsive to the high cost of living, then that might actually alleviate the high cost of living.
That is all empty talk. It's rhetoric, because unless you actually do one or two things that actually grows the economy, even to come up with such a wage policy is a lie. You must demonstrate what is it that we are doing on the ground to actually grow the economy. Without that, boss, it will just be promises like we have had from 2013.
And that is why we have Masaki to explain to us.
Masaki, maybe actually.
I think you have not been keen, Daktari. No, Daktari, you have been very serious in interjecting. You're not listening. So I want you to listen.
Okay.
In terms of what we have been able to achieve, we have talked about the establishment of Hustler Fund. That was the first phase. It is one of
which is failing, by the way.
It is not failing because you're not. You're not doing your own research. When you talk about even the price of Munga, you are calling people, finding out, instead of you going to the supermarket and check, is it still there? You yourself are buying on Stace, and you know that for sure. And you're buying it in Lavington, where they are selling 300 shillings per packet. So I think you have to be very honest.
There's no price, there's no 300.
So we have to agree. We have to agree on that you need to really do your own research. Next time when you come here, I think you need to have your own research. We are talking about the price.
I leave that judgment.
The price.
They are watching you, they're listening.
The price stabilization scheme, which we had already laid out in our manifesto, that even when farmers are going to plant, that they will have a guarantee, they will have a minimum guarantee returns, whereby that if you're going to do the plantation, you have a guarantee that the government is going to buy this product. But the issue that we're dealing with here today is that we have so much rhetoric, we have so much bile against the government. Just because you did not make it to form part and parcel of this government, you are really opposing it. It is not right to oppose everything. We have talked about establishment of the Hustler Fund. We are already commissioning housing project. We already have the 200,000 units that are going to be put up in Nairobi. This is going to help us improve on the employment of young people, to this both skilled and unskilled. If we are going to address this issue, then we are going to lower the many young people that are out there who are not employed. We are talking about establishment of dams. We have the Thika Dam that was already commissioned. We have the Twake Dam, which is going to help us harvest a lot of water for irrigation. Okay? That is one of the ways that we are already achieving what we already laid out. We said in our manifesto that we are going to appoint the judges that were not already the appeal court judges. which already was sworn in. That is an achievement. You have not talked about that. And you're really pushing us in this direction.
Masaki, so it is of no consequence. You are appointing judges and whatever those other things.
It is going to help us. I know where you're going. It's going to help us fast-track the judicial, the justice system in Kenya.
Yeah.
That is going to help us improve.
You know,
yes.
I mean, Dennis, again, I mean, I just want to put, I know Kenyans will judge us because they are watching us. You see, one of the problems, you know, of KK administration is getting its priorities wrong. Now we are dealing with actually the cost of living, which is the biting factor for almost every Kenyan. But here you are telling us you're launching affordable housing. Come on, in a dilapidated economy, and it's not my words, from the second in command of this country, say that we inherit a dilapidated economy, empty coffers. So when you choose to launch certain projects, like for example, saying, you know, affordable housing, I've seen something about big infrastructure. Where is that money coming from? You know, KK, fair enough. And by the way, I know you guys are pleading for time. We'll give you time.
But Mr.
Ekuru,
but give us time, then you just by that time.
Remember the ripple effect, because one of the topics that we're going to cover is droughts and floods. And Mr. Masaki has talked about the government emphasis, or rather his emphasis on the government coming up with affordable housing. And right now that we're having you know, long rains, we're having Kenyans who might be affected, who are living in informal settlements. And this is where we're having the affordable housing come in. So it is a ripple effect, and we can't see some of the policies put in place by the government you know, working within some of the policies that they set up.
Dennis, you will remember this interview. Affordable housing in this country is a mirage so long as you don't grow the economy, so long as you don't put money into people's pockets. You can only talk about affordable housing when there is people are capable to purchase. Without that, let me tell you, it's not long ago, 2019, 2020, up to 2021, when the COVID pandemic was hitting the entire world, a lot of Kenyans, and I'm telling you a lot of Kenyans, because I took an interest in it, could not even buy today's newspaper. All the newspapers today, just go and look at the advertisement section. People are being auctioned. But I mean, as a practicing lawyer, I work sometimes with auctioneers, and they'll tell you, you know, we have advertised for the auctioning of this property, but what do I want to pay? It's nobody to buy. That tells you, don't come with grandiose projects like affordable housing when you cannot create an environment where people are able. The truth for the matter today, and actually, you know, KK administration will tell you, there is a lot of, investors who are actually losing faith in the Kenyan market. We can globetrot, go all over the continents, telling Kenyans, telling people to come and invest. But the truth for the matter is, investors are losing faith in Kenya. They are not able to invest here. People are leaving. We've lost, for example, during the Jubilee administration, we had with an investor who wanted to do what they call the Mara phone, inspired by the idea of Mara being the seventh wonder of the world. Why? Because of lackluster government leadership, they moved to Rwanda. Volkswagen wanted to start an assembly plant here. They moved to Ethiopia, and many, many other guys are withdrawing. So that's why for me, Masaki and Omolo, I still want to appeal to you guys. We want, I love Kenya. I want a very prosperous country. But I think until we learn to be honest, let's not just defend political position. And there's absolutely nothing wrong criticizing government. In fact, if we don't criticize government, Omolo, Masaki, then you won't be able to actually check on yourself. It's important. People like us who are outside government can actually call out certain things, give you ideas. Because, for example, I mean, even I saw you lifted from our Punguza Mizigo, the idea of bottom-up approach. Because, you know, you lifted it directly from the Punguza Mizigo proposal. Yeah. But see, your formula of bottom-up is wrong. As we are focusing on using the word as a unit of accelerating development so that you actually devolve money as per Article 6 of the Constitution and Chapter 11 of our Constitution.
All right.
You know?
Two things I want to bring to your attention. One, I accept and I agree with him that there are good ideas that he had, which of course we are inviting him to come and help us implement because he has good brains. You know, we don't have to oppose everything. There are things that are good, we appreciate. There are things we have to oppose. And we're not doing that for the sake of doing it. I'm always very stable in my stand. But there are things that we need to say the truth. One, on the contrary, investors have lined up, actually, to invest in Kenya. Why? Because our economy, the signs of economic stability is very eminent. They have seen that there are measures that we have put in place that will now necessitate that growth of economy. When you are funding low-cost housing, you are injecting money in the economy because you'll allow Bamburi Cement or even the cement industry to supply cement. When they supply cement, they will be making profit. When they make profit, they will employ many people in their industries. You allow the steel company to supply steel, and you allow locals to work in that area. So it means that as much as we build these houses, we're also allowing locals to benefit. Secondly, if you want to stabilize and put money in the pockets of Kenyans, one, you alleviate, you try to help the poor by injecting some cash in that bottom up, the bottom agenda. Those we call SMEs and MMEs. So far, 8 million Kenyans have benefited repeatedly, those who have borrowed repeatedly, the Hustlers Fund. We have injected over 26 billion Kenyan shillings into Kenya's economy. When you do that, these people are doing business, they are making profit, they are earning, and also they are paying taxes. When they pay taxes, that money is coming to the revenue and allowing the government to do its work. So I believe that the science of economic development is already showing. And, creating the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi is somebody who's the experience. And you saw him now given the responsibility of implementing, government agenda. One, we are leasing parastatals or industries that are dependent on the exchequer. They are not making any profit. We need industries or companies or institutions that can now give us revenue. So first of all, there are measures and strategies, frameworks that are preventing pilferages or wastage of public money. So all those signs will just tell you that Kenya Kwanza is very serious in economic development. And that's why we give credit where it is due. Secondly, it is very important that we also understand that for a country to develop economically, you must have peace. You must have political stability in the country. But so far, we have what we call disruptive opposition. When you talk about disruptive, it is no longer professional, opposition, because members of parliament are elected to legislate, to oversight, and to represent the people. Now they are saying they are using Article 1, the power belongs to the people. And you don't understand what is the role of a member of parliament in parliament. They're supposed to be doing, they're supposed to monitor and even come up with policies and even strategies that will either criticize or even support the government in its agenda. What they are doing, running around in the street, which is not helping anybody. If we have a stable economy or political stability or even peace in the country, we can move forward. So what we are just saying in simple terms, the reason why we are saying bipartisan talks, we take it to parliament, is a structure within the law that will allow these people to help us come up with policies that will run this country. Because this country belongs to all of us. It does not belong to one person. If Ruto is the president, then other people must support him, including the opposition leader. And that's why he said, I want to create the opposition, the office of the opposition leader. It does not mean that is not the office of Raila Odinga. That office will be one day the office of Dr. Ekuru Aukot, because I know one day he will run. He has been running. He will be one day opposition leader. That office will belong to him. That office is supposed to facilitate the oversight of government.
And that's where your lies begin.
Now,
that's where your lies begin.
Lastly, look at the political parties. We have over 86 political parties that are just an assembly of ethnicities. We are just promoting ethnicities. We don't have a clear structure. Political parties that can help us, that are anchored on ideologies that can help us run government. And that's why sometimes we need to propose either what we call, what is happening in South Africa is called proportionate whatever.
Proportional representation.
Representation. We only have at least 3 political parties or 2 political parties. One in opposition with a different agenda, another one in government, so that we can run this government. So sometimes we need to have a national discussion a national discourse that will help us improve on what we have right now, but not proposing what will destroy.
You know, Dennis, the assumption with the Molan team is that we are still establishing what ails Kenya, what the problems in Kenya. If KK administration really wanted to endear itself to the people of Kenya, they will table a number of commission of inquiry reports. The TGRC report has been shelved, the Ndungu Commission report, the Krigler Commission report, the Waki report, and many, Akiumi, all those things. All those reports have established what is really wrong with Kenya. And Olo, you don't need to create the office of the leader of the opposition. It's already in the constitution.
Just hold on to that thought.
Yes.
Because we are doing short breaks, so don't go too far. Be right back with more conversations regarding the Azimio protests, among many other issues that the country is grappling with.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki hii story.
Nikifika watu wangu watu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka. Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mutuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
The diversity of Kenya's wildlife has garnered international fame.
This is pellets that we give to the tourists, the giraffes. We ration because we don't want the giraffes to eat too much of this. We want them to have more of the natural browse.
We may not always get the opportunity to go out to see the wildlife, but you'll never miss the opportunity to see it from the comfort of your couch.
This is home to animals that have been found out there either injured, abandoned, or confiscated from people who are holding them illegally.
Only on TV 47 Wildlife, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Disability is a club that anyone can join.
I live with special needs. It means I have a limitation. There are things I can't be able to do personally myself.
And in our journey to talk about disability, we tell the stories of those with disabilities and even sit with specialists to understand what it means for those affected directly and indirectly.
Everybody's life, mine has also been faced with ups and downs.
If it becomes a self-stigmatized thing where you feel like you are judging yourself too harsh, you blame yourself, and you perceive that it happened because you failed.
Join me, Zainab Mohammed, on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
An entrepreneur is defined as someone who has the ability and desire to establish, administer, and succeed in a startup venture along with the risks entitled to it to make profits.
I'm a professional financier with a professional paper in banking. However, for fashion, it's something I've always loved ever since I was small.
Started as a baby business. It was all about, you have your machines, the haircuts, wear the heads, bring the scalps.
We wanted something that would remind us about prayer every now and then. So the moment you mention Talit, we always think about prayer because Talit Cakes is founded on prayer.
Get to learn more about these entrepreneurs and what makes them stand out in their field every Monday at 6:30 p.m. only on The Grind.
Things like cocaine can cause very extremely high pressures and it can cause damage to the kidneys.
Main reason why people get constipated is food.
If you lie down flat and you notice you're having some difficulty breathing, yes, that could also be a sign of heart disease.
When the car breaks down, it is taken to the mechanic. But when the human body breaks down, where is it taken? This is why the Body Garage exists. Join us every Thursday, 8 p.m. as we bring you health expert advice. And I'll be your host, Dr. Chepsi.
Wakati mwingine kama weekend, mimi najiachilia.
Hata ukumbuki history.
Nikifika watu wangu wakinipokea na kupokeleka.
Umeset the mood.
Nimeset the mood. Naweza kupokeleka.
Nikitumai kwamba mzima popote pale ulipo, nikikukaribisha katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi. Jina langu Elizabeth Mtuku. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea siku nyingine. Tutapatana papa hapa umjue kiongozi mwingine.
Jiunge nasi toka hapa hadi ufuoni mwa bahari. Meli yetu itakapotua nanga kwa uhondo ribo ya riwaya hii mwisho wa kosa. Monica.
It's early morning in Maralal. Start your morning informed, educated, entertained, and above all, know your country. From the beautiful plains of Samburu County to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, Morning Cafe certainly got you covered. Indeed, a beautiful place to watch and certainly a moment of understanding and knowing your country. Indeed, to the remotest parts of every county.
Join me, Linda Alela, every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
Many Kenyans. Now, right about now, we should focus to the protests called by the Azimio La Umoja Party leader Raila Odinga. Now, remember, his convoy is somewhere within Nairobi, trying to make its way within the Nairobi CBD, and finally end up at the office of the president, as well as the treasury at Harambee House. Now, this is where we get to shift focus to matters the protests called by Azimio Party, as well as how they affect the country. Gentlemen, the best place to begin this conversation is the speech made by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, when he stated that the opposition leader Raila Odinga is calling for his rights of protesting. But at the same time, he reminded the opposition leader Raila Odinga that the president also has a constitutional right of protecting the businesses as well as property and lives of Kenyans. So how do you see this panning out? Because both of the factions are, displaying or rather talking about the rights that they have in the constitution.
You see, let's draw some parallels. If you look at the protests that are being spearheaded by someone like Julius Malema in South Africa, they're actually a celebration. It's a carnival. people are dancing peaceful. Nobody is touching anybody's property. Nobody is sabotaging the economy. They are not exuding any fear on anyone. So, rightfully so. And that's why the philosophy in Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya is that you've got the right to picket, demonstrate, whatever, hand over, protest letters, but peaceably. That's the word, peaceably. The truth for the matter is, yes, these Azimio people enjoy that constitutional right. And the police, yes, must protect, property and life of individuals. But also, you cannot say I'm enjoying my right when you're injuring other people or you're causing harm. Like in the case of now Azimio, causing economic sabotage, because it's deliberate to say we will now do Monday and Thursday. Yeah. It's basically to disrupt businesses, including hurting their own members, who must go to, maybe a site to earn a living so that they can buy that unga, which they are saying is affecting their cost of living. So whereas it's their right, but how are they conducting themselves? And I will be the last person to stifle anybody's constitutional right as a lawyer. But you must be peaceful in those demonstrations. Besides that, and at the risk of sounding very unpopular, it's not like Raila Odinga or Azimio people lack any other avenues to bring the issues they are concerned with before government. Like I said, they have got a leadership in both houses of parliament, in the Senate and in the National Assembly. Those avenues are sufficient enough for them to be able to table. I have not seen a motion tabled on why the cost of living is high and what avenues they are being. That is normally how political representation works. If, for example, all those members of parliament say that, I've been to my constituency X, and this is what my people have told me, table a motion in parliament, put a statement that can be debated, So there's a cocktail of lies and half-truths about these bipartisan protests. Whereas on the one hand, and I know for a fact that whereas the cost of living is actually affecting the ordinary Kenyan, I do believe that's not the reason why Azimio is on the streets. Azimio is on the streets because they lost an election. They are bitter. A lot of them had already bought suits thinking that they will be cabinet secretaries and the rest. So there's a level of bitterness. So they are just hiding behind the constitutional freedom of demonstration guarantees under Article 37. Because if I looked at the agenda, 90+% of that agenda is about election. Open servers, do this and that. And that issue, we went past it. Because the moment Azimio guys invoked the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court pronounced itself based on their own petition, that issue was, dusted and shut and dusted. Yeah. So the cost of living is not something that can come down by you disrupting other businesses. It's by engaging the government, the right departments of government, maybe tabling even a motion. I wish today the Azimio guys will say, let's reflect back on 2019 when we included VAT on petroleum products, because that's what drove the cost of living up, because it's a factor of production. Yeah. Now they're not talking about that. They're not talking about they having contributed, because like I said, it was during last year, Raila himself was rebuking Kenyans and saying that wacheni kubweka kama mbwa. This cost of living is not only unique to Kenya. He cited Ukraine, Russia war, and all that. So what has changed now? So in summary, my colleagues can contribute. There is an extent to which there is dishonesty in all this conversation and this demonstration. And secondly, Kenyans are hurting right now as we speak. I mean, the cost of living is real. It's real. People are asking for basics, But now, how then do you want to take a suffering lot to the street, even if it's a constitutional right, but it's couched in some degree of secrecy? Because you are saying, I lost an election. Okay, I followed, of course, the lamentation. During the Supreme Court hearing of the petition, there was never any whistleblower. If they had this evidence, surely they should have tabled at that time. Only came later as after fact. And in fact, the idea of opening the server is a lie. These people, in my view, I'm sorry, I sound very strong, they're very ignorant. as educated or exposed as they may be. Because if you remember the Court of Appeal decision on the minor KI case, popularly known as the minor KI case judgment, the court said that the final result in an election are those votes that are cast at a polling station. And that is the Form 34A. Now, Form 34A, and this is where I think Chebukati snookered them. Because Chebukati said, I'm creating a link, and that Form 34A will be uploaded to this link, and everybody has access to it, and that is the final result. There's nothing called Form 34B, 34C that will change the results in Form 34A. And secondly, the commissioners at IEBC are not the ones who are managing the election. The election is actually managed by the secretariat, the polling clerks, the returning officers, and all those kind of things. People, in all, I mean, I ask myself, how could 53,000 possible, is it polling clerks? All just conspire against you, even in your own stronghold. Yeah, how could they conspire against you? So, whereas the demonstration based on the cost of living is something that all of us can reasonably say, okay, it is important. Of course, KK will say, give us time, we'll fix this thing. But still, it doesn't stop us from saying, we are going to the street because we want to see action from the government. Fair enough. But don't bring in other issues like the election. The election came and went. And I think for me, it even proves now that these people are not leaders. And they don't mean well for Kenya, because if they're just disrupting the country, disrupting the economy, disrupting the very, very economy that is struggling, the people who are very struggling, then I don't think you're a leader.
Absolutely.
I think the Constitution has made very clear pronouncements in regards to Article 37, peaceful protest. But from even the previous happenings and the previous demonstration, there has never been a peaceful demonstration from Azimio. There has never. And that's why it scares away the business people to close down.
And people have died.
Okay? It is something that they know what they're doing.
But they're trying. Azimio leaders have gone ahead to say that they are hooligans who attach themselves to the peaceful cause that they're having.
But you see, you are the person who is calling out for this demonstration.
Yes,
you should be able to ensure that the people who are following up on this demonstration, that people are doing peaceful. You're the one who's calling out for this. So we are only calling out the police to ensure that the business is protected. The business of many people who are doing across the country, they're actually protected from this demonstration, because we know the agenda is very well. They want to actually sabotage this economy that we are trying to build. We cannot be able to allow that. As a country, and we are calling out the president and also the IG of police that they should ensure that the business of many young people, because I'm speaking on behalf of the young people, that is actually protected. We cannot be able to see these people continue with this kind of arrangement they were having. If they were really genuine, the way they call themselves, they actually be having this discussion in parliament. We don't need to have, the way I've even talked that we don't need to have actually this committee in place, because it's actually in the constitution.
We don't need it.
What they're trying to do is trying to drive away the agenda of the government, so that we can be able now to focus, instead of us, the government, focusing in implementation of our agenda and the manifesto, we are actually addressing their issues on the street. We are not going to allow that. Let this be last demonstration that has been. In fact, they were not even allowed to do this demonstration. They are actually doing it against the law, because the Nairobi police boss mentioned it very correctly that they were not granted the permit.
Absolutely.
But Dennis, before Molo comes, even assuming I want to believe, for example, what some of those Azimio leaders are saying, that there are some hooligans, then why don't they point them out? Why do they allow them to be part of their procession?
Right.
They are betting the commission of a crime.
Absolutely. Good question that has been posed to the Azimio leaders who are watching. Now, your closing remarks on
what I can say is that, Odili, in the Man of the People, Chenua Achebe says that a dancer should know when to exit stage. I think Raila should now leave the stage, because we are seeing the same pattern, same strategy, same ideology from 1997 coming to 2023. I think it's high time they change their strategy on how they do their things. Because as much as that the Constitution allows demonstration, picketing, and Article 37, wherever there's a right, there's also a responsibility. That's why in Section 5, the Public Order Act, It also allows the police to protect properties. You should not infringe on the right of another person. Kenyans campaigned peacefully. Elections were done peacefully. For the first time in this country, they elected a leader based on ideology, not a community. Because in most of our elections, it's just like a census. We are doing census on which community is larger than the other. But this time around, they elected a leader based on ideology. So there are also other institutions that are meant, constitutional bodies, that they were allowed to present their case. The issue was determined. I don't know whether there's a recourse in law with this kind of whistleblower, which you don't know the person. Even WikiLeaks, we know the WikiLeaks person. We must know the authenticity of this kind of person. We can interrogate what kind of person he is. Yeah. So this is just, these people are just trying to cause economic sabotage, disruption, which is not good for Kenyans. What we want to urge the President of the Republic of Kenya is to deal with these people without mercy. I think it is high time he should exercise his authority as a president. What we are seeing is just a waste of time. Sometimes you leave Christianity aside and deal as a leader, as a real man. And they should stop entertaining these characters, because it is really disrupting a lot of things. So I believe sometimes going forward, we need not to pay a lot of premium on presidency. Sometimes, Kenyans, wherever your brother is not elected as a president, or even your age mate or your village mate, you feel that you are left out of that government. But Ruto has demonstrated that he's willing to work even with the opposition side, even those who did not vote for him. Because as a president, he's the symbol of national unity. He was sworn in to protect, uphold, and protect the Constitution. I think that is what he's doing. These people, if they are serious, as my good friend Dr. Ekuro Kota said, let them introduce a bill in Parliament, or even amend policies that will help us stabilize the economy, arrest the issue of high cost of living, because it is a right under Article 43. So sometimes going to the street is not helping anybody. So if they want to join government through backdoor, I can tell them that it is not the right time. Ruto is not Uhuru Kenyatta, and it is not going to be possible.
Right. It is a very candid conversation that we've had right here regarding the state of the nation. We've already talked about the high cost of living and the effects of the mass action called by the Azimio La Umoja party leader, that is Raila Odinga. We've looked at possible solutions to almost all of the issues that have been raised on set. Just to reintroduce to you the panelists that I've had on set, to my immediate right is Dr. Ekuro Okot, the Third Way Alliance party leader. I've also been joined by the UDA Youth Affairs, Director of Youth Affairs, that is Masaki Samuel. And I've also been joined by the ANC Party Director of Political Parties, that is Omolo Jr. Many thanks for your
But Dennis,
insight.
there is one thing I need to make a correction. You see, I think I also have a problem with you media people, because you are perpetuating a lie. Under Kenyan law, the Political Parties Act, you cannot be a member of two political parties at the same time. So when you keep on referring to Raila Amolo Odinga as the leader of Azimio, party leader Azimio, and then ODM, you're actually saying that there's an...
Remember, Azimio was signed as a party.
No. It's a corporate body, and I've argued this. Azimio is and I hope, Omulo, you can take this up. Azimio is a corporate entity. A political party in Kenya, defined under the Political Parties Act, is one that must have registered voters in a majority of 24 counties, being 24. And you must have 1,000 members. Yeah? So meaning any political party in Kenya must have 24,000 registered voters who are living persons. Did you see ODM go to vote in a polling station? Did you see Jubilee? Did you see KANU? So we need to stop this fake discussion around somebody being in two political parties at the same time. Of course, they amended the law to fit their circumstances, but it's an illegality.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Many thanks for your amazing insight on set this afternoon.
Santi.
All right. Now, on that note, we shift focus to the protests that are currently ongoing within the streets of Nairobi. And we get to link up with our reporter, Moige William. Good afternoon, Moige. Kindly bring us up to speed with the current, the latest happenings from wherever you are.
From Thika Road. Currently, where we are at Ngara. There down here is the interconnect to Glogon roundabout, heading towards the Nairobi CBD. But as you can see behind me, let me move out of shot. Whatever you are seeing behind me now, this is police officers. You can see one vehicle belonging to the Kenya Police and the other one from the Administration Police. They have barricaded Thika Road, of course, coming from Thika to inbound the Nairobi CBD. No vehicle is allowed through this particular route. No motorbike is allowed through this particular route headed towards town. That is the latest happening. Of course, earlier on we had noticed the disruption of the traffic flow towards town using this particular road, noting that police officers had barricaded this particular area. Maybe this is one particular tactic they have been using to keep Raila Odinga and the Azimio coalition at bay, basically not to access the central business district. In the previous demonstration or protest that we have witnessed within the country, this particular tactic is what police have been using, barricading all major inlets towards the Nairobi Central Business District. So earlier on in the convoy by Raila Odinga, we had seen him take from Westlands then to Kiambu Road, and also where he took the Thika Road. So maybe in reaction to that, police noticed that and decided to barricade this particular road. If Shadrach could zoom in for you, as you can see, those are plainclothes police officers redirecting the traffic, telling those motorists to use another particular route so as to access the Nairobi Central Business District. While we were coming to this particular location that we are in, I overheard a lady lamenting that she had left behind a vehicle at Ngara and decided to walk towards town. But the traffic towards Thika, as you can see, it is flowing, it has not been disrupted. And also beside that particular area, business is going on smoothly. They have not disrupted any business. They're not interrupting any other thing apart from traffic. Now, that being the case, if anyone is using a public service vehicle, he's forced to alight and to use this particular area. Remember, this is towards down there is the Grogon roundabout, and then it heads into Kirinyaga Road, then all the way to Koja bus station up to Tom Mboya. So basically, this is the road they have barricaded. So any person who wants to access this particular route, you can either do so by foot, no other means, because no motorcycles, motorbikes, they are not being allowed to this particular area, no vehicle at all. Only any person who is on foot. So you have no option, you're left with no option but to trek towards town. Approximately it's around 4-5 kilometers. So you have a walk to do. That is the only option left for anyone who is trying to access the Nairobi Central Business District, coming towards from Thika to inbound Nairobi. So you're left with no option but to alight your vehicle and be able to trek. Or the other option is from the place they are diverting the vehicles, it goes all the way to Nyamakema. That is the only option. Nyamakema, the nearest bus stop is OTC. So that is the only option. That is where police are redirecting this particular traffic, which is along Thika Road. Dennis, that is the latest from our end. A lot has been happening. We have, earlier on, we were within the Central Business District. We talked to a number of business persons and also Nairobi residents. Majority were business persons that we managed to engage. And they were lamenting that, all right, despite nothing has been disrupted within town by demonstrators or rather protesters, but their businesses have gone down. Okay, that is a siren of an ambulance, nothing much. So business, like I was saying earlier before, business has gone down. Most of their clients, the number of clients that on a normal day that they manage to be able to sell or manage to to be able to sell their products to. Today, the number has declined, but at least they are appreciating that they have been able to conduct their businesses in a conducive environment. But for now, we are going to be watching what will be happening and also following and keeping tabs on what will be transpiring along this particular road. This is a major road, a busy road for anyone coming off Thika Road towards town. So many people use this particular road, but it has been barricaded. So anyone who is planning to come to town, for around 30 or so minutes, this road has remained barricaded. No motor vehicle, no motorcycle, only by foot if you want to access town. Okay, that is one who has managed to sneak through the police, but they are quite keeping a hawk-eye, seeing whoever is passing this particular area. That is the latest from us, Dennis. Now we take it back to you. You can keep informing our viewers on the latest developments from the other side of town.
Right.
Back to you, Dennis.
All right. Thank you very much, Moige William, for that comprehensive report. Of course, Moige William painting to us the picture as it is in the Nairobi CBD. And the one important thing that has been maintained is peace and calm within Nairobi CBD. Of course, Moige William will be following up closely on the situation around the CBD, and he will be updating us further on the situation as it develops in our subsequent bulletins. But moving on, controversial Malindi pastor Paul Nthenge Mackenzie and his 6 accomplices were on Tuesday released by a Malindi court, but later rearrested in a dramatic move by the DCI within the court's premises. This after the Malindi Principal Magistrate Ivy Wasike, who was handling the miscellaneous application that allowed Mackenzie and the 6 others to be held in police custody for 14 days, directed that she had